All right, we are recording. Hi, you guys. Welcome to Wednesday night team call. I am so excited for tonight. I know many of you have been raving about tonight because we saw who is our special guest. But we are excited to have Paul Blanchard on I know many of you saw him at Rise Up Summit and just were so inspired and were so on fire after hearing him speak. But for those who don't know who Paul Blanchard is, let me make sure I'm muted. You guys can come on and mute yourself. That would be great. But for those who don't know who Paul Blanchard is, he is president of Augmandino. He's an incredible motivational speaker.
Sorry, I thought I was on mute.
That's okay. No worries at all. But yeah, so he's president of Augmandino. He's just an incredible motivational speaker. He is a habit dynamic expert who has really helped thousands of people with their habits of thinking and really help them realize their desire for fulfillment when it comes to making an impact on this world. So we're just so excited for him to be on. He's been personally helping Josh and I for the last few months, even with our own habits and our habits of thinking, and it has brought such value into our own lives. So we're excited to have him on here with us tonight. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring on Paul. My friend, go ahead and just take it away.
Sweet. Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. Now, I have an annoying rule. It might be annoying to you, but I really appreciate it. If you're not naked or your spouse isn't naked, you should be on video. I don't care if you're driving or you're eating. I don't mind watching you eat. I just don't want to hear you eat, you know? So like, let's pop some videos on here. We got less than half the people on here with their video on. Kind of makes it a little difficult to, there we go. That's what's up. Yes. Right on. Being real, being present. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I don't want to call anybody out or anything, but appreciate at least a few more popping on video. That's very helpful to me. All right. I've got a couple things that I want to share, but before we get into that, I'm at my best when I get an opportunity to interact. So how many of you are familiar with the Habit Finder and with my dad and I? Okay, for those of you who aren't, we've spent about the last 20 years working with over 200,000 business leaders and entrepreneurs in a very specific dimension of their lives, in the way they think. The reason we do that, the reason we've focused on the way you think, is because there are three dimensions of your development. There is the base level, which is your behavioral dimension. That's what you do and don't do. And that's where over 90% of people spend most of their time and energy, is trying to focus on the things they wish they could do and not do, and the strategies and all those different things that they want to change in their life in the behavioral realm. Then as people usually start to get introduced to personal development, the first dimension they get introduced to is the second one, and that's the emotional dimension. Being a little more introspective, a little bit more aware of your emotions and how you feel and different things like that. One of the defining characteristics of the emotional spectrum is personality, which is really just the emotions you've memorized. And most of us have about 7 to 9 different personalities. Okay. I would say ask your spouse, but that's a loaded question. Okay. So, but we have about 7 to 9 different personalities. So the challenge in the emotional spectrum is we're still limited by what we can actually change because we're still downstream. But it's great to be aware of. You definitely want to be aware of your behaviors. You definitely want to be aware of your emotions. But where change actually occurs is at as far upstream as you can get, and that's in the dimension of thought. The way you think determines your reality. And your reality, I'm sorry to say, is not the reality. And too many of us are playing reality bumper cars, trying to get other people to align to our reality, or we're seeing people through the filter of our reality and our perceptions. Your reality is not the reality. It's just the reality that your thoughts have constructed, the filters at which you see life through. And we've spent the last 20 years developing the principles and the practices and the processes of aligning your thoughts and therefore aligning your reality with the dreams you want to create. Actually create them. We don't create dreamers. Dreamers waste time. Dream creators are out there doing the work, aligning all three areas of their thoughts, the conversations around their emotions, and their actions. It starts with your thoughts, though. Your thoughts determine the thermostat of your life. It's one of my favorite analogies Ed Milet used in a interview with Tom Bellew. talked about the thermostat. The thermostat's set at 72 degrees in your life. That's your current reality. Now we can try and manipulate the temperature of the room of our life. We can turn on a fan and try and turn the temperature down. We can light the fire and try to warm it up. But as soon as it changes 1 degree, what happens? It immediately kicks in countermeasures to get it back to the temperature that it's set at. Anyone experience this? Maybe you've been operating in the behavioral realm. It sounds like this. All I need to do is, if I would just start doing this, I just need to. Anyone suffering from a bad case of the just need tos? And then your mentors say, well, all you need to do it, and they make it sound even simpler, which makes you feel even more stupid for not doing it, or at least not doing it consistently. And then you beat yourself up even more, and you get into this whirlwind and this paradoxical landslide of unmet expectations. What's wrong with me? I guess Optavia is just not right for me. Fortunately, none of you here have gotten to that point, but you've probably brought people in. Yeah, being a health coach is just not for me. What part? Growing or making a lot more money? Which part isn't for you? I'm not quite clear on that. Because the assumption that Optavia isn't for you is really comes down to, are you willing to grow? Are you interested in making a whole lot of money doing it? Part of you growing is helping other people grow, but that only happens when we change the way we think. So where I'd love to start off tonight with that premise is, what are you thinking? What's challenging you? I'm a big fan of you being aware of your own experience. And too many people go into evaluating their own experience with positive mental thinking. Have a positive mental attitude. Oh my gosh, that's such crap. What a waste of time. Optimism is often used like lidocaine to numb you from what's really going on in your life. It's like putting new coats of fresh paint on rotting fence posts. And when the wind of life comes around, we get frustrated because the fence post falls. But at least we were really positive about it, right? Rather than feeling good about our average lives, let's address what is so we can move it. So I'm curious, what do you wish was different about your life? What do you want to change? What do you hope will be different? I don't want anyone here to feel like we need to start this call off negative. No, we're going to be curious about it. Let's be curious about what's going on in your life, because everyone at any level of life, I've worked with billionaires down to stay-at-home moms, everyone has some part of their life they wish was better. So what's yours? Where are you at? And see if I can't give you a little something to shift it. Who'd like to go first? What part about asking me a question don't you like? Growing or making more money? I'm not sure. Thanks for smiling. Who wants to go first? Who's going to jump first? Ah!
Growing, okay. Paul, growing.
Oh, Pam's on it. Go ahead.
Rachel, are you going? Or your husband?
Well, Tim.
I'm going to go. I'm Tim.
Perfect. Go, Tim.
I'm good. I'm well. Thank you. So will you repeat the question? I want to make sure I answer it correctly.
Where are you at? What do you want to improve? What are you getting stuck on?
I think a lot of it, we use the word a lot, but mindset. And I think a lot of it is just, I have a lot of room to grow. And so I'm constantly being challenged in my business and in life. And I'm just a lot of times just back to old habits in terms of the way that I think.
What's the toughest one?
I just think, it's funny because I tell people this all the time. I don't like people making decisions for me. And so I try to make decisions for myself, but yet I sometimes don't. I make decisions for other people knowing that I don't like them made for me. So whether it's talking to them about coaching or whatever, just making assumptions for them and not offering something that I know would be an amazing gift.
So you're talking about deciding that they couldn't afford it ahead of time, or deciding that they wouldn't really want this ahead of time?
Yeah, deciding that they wouldn't want it. They have enough money. They have an amazing life. in terms of finances, and they're busy and they have multiple businesses, and just help, making the decision that health is enough for them. But
Perfect.
I know better.
Awesome. Tim, let me give you a great tool to use. Would you be willing to still talk to these people that you've written off?
Absolutely.
I'm using emotionally charged words on purpose. I know you're not like writing them off as a human being, but writing them off as a potential client or coach, right? You'd still be willing to talk to these people?
Yes.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how confident do you feel you could build rapport with them? And just in general conversation, it doesn't have to be on selling them on the opportunity.
Yeah, extremely. Yeah.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
And once rapport is built, I want you to ask them one question. And I want you to premise it with a permission question. All I want you to do when you feel rapport is being built, walls are coming down, you're connecting. I want you to say, could I ask you a personal question? Okay. Can you say that?
Yep.
Go ahead.
Can I ask you a personal question?
What's the toughest thing about being you? Go ahead.
Yeah. What's the toughest thing about being you?
Perfect. Awesome. You can do it. Congratulations. That's awesome. I like to make sure people can do what I challenge them to do. Okay. So great. Well done. That's all I want you to do is just challenge your mindset. We want to avoid mindsets. That sounds like concrete. It sets. It gets brittle. Okay. And most people have no idea what mindset even means. It just sounds like a cool word to throw around to explain the noise and the mess of why we're not moving forward. It must be my mindset. Well, what does that even mean? Well, it's a set of neural pathways that are determining your current reality. If you want to change a neural pathway, you've got to look for the resistance, like feeling around for the button of a secret passage, find the resistance, push the button, and walk through it, even though so much of your brain is going to be saying, don't, stop, don't go that way. Okay? Those of you who've seen Labyrinth, don't go further, like the big talking heads. Okay? It's going to feel like that when you're headed the direction you want to go to grow. And all I want you to do is just challenge me and see if you can prove that your decision was correct. I have no problem with you making decisions for people as long as you're willing to prove whether it was the correct decision or not. And asking someone what's the toughest thing about being them will often lead to finding pain you didn't realize they had. Because if you're making your decisions from the insecurities of how you feel inside compared to the demonstration they're putting up outside, you will likely make the wrong decision 9 times out of 10. I don't want you to beat yourself up for doing it. I just want you to be willing to prove it. Does that sound good?
Yep.
Think you can do that, Tim?
Absolutely.
Sweet. Thank you. Awesome. Helpful for anybody else? See, I don't bite. Well, at least not on Zoom. They haven't built that technology yet.
Right.
Who's next?
Hey, Paul.
Who said that?
That's Eric. Can you hear me?
Hey, Eric. What's up, brother?
Hi.
So for me, I think I get stuck a little too much on my results as of late.
Okay.
Meaning if I've got a lot of clients or coaches coming on, I'm on top of the world. And if I don't, I start getting down on myself. And then if I'm not careful, I'll end up in a downward spiral of like, oh no, I can't do what I used to do or can't do what I need to do.
Got it. Okay. Great piece. Anyone else relate to this? Okay. There's a big difference between the business you're in and the game that you're playing. The business you're in is lifelong transformation. The game that you're playing is monthly rank and volume. That's a game. Okay, you lose a game on a Nintendo and you just play again. You go trick-or-treating and knock on the first door and they don't answer. You don't go home. It's, oh, this trick-or-treating doesn't work. I suck. No, you run to the next house. Because you know you're playing a game. So let's play a game every month, sustained by the foundation of the business we're in. We're in the business of lifelong transformation. We're in this for life. Now, one of the challenges of this business is it's juxtaposed to the game, and that is that 80% on average of what you experience this month is going to come from what you did 3 months ago. That's the pipeline. You've got about 10 to 20%, depending on who you are and the size of your business, to play with this month to increase or decrease the harvest you have the opportunity to reap from 3 months ago, on average, 2 to 3 months. So just remember that. Is if you're running into a dry spell, just remember that you might be at a deficit from what you did or didn't do 3 months ago. But also have the perspective to realize you're in this for life, so you want to make sure you don't sabotage 3 months from now. Okay? And if you push, oh, the results aren't going to come, and then you backed off, and all of a sudden they all showed up, and you go, oh, I must have just been pushing too hard. No, it's because there's a lag. You've got your lead measures. You've got your lag measures. Your rank, your income is a lag measure. Your lead measures are Facebook posts, conversations, connections, all that different stuff. That's what we want to be working through. So part of this, Eric, is going to be deciding what game do you want to play this month? What was the score last month? What was your rank in August, Eric?
Blended executive director.
Right on. Congrats. What was your front line?
13.7.
What? Are you serious? Dang, that's legit. Okay. Like I have clients that global and presidential, and I usually sound an alarm when they go above 12, because usually you're playing a blue collar game at that point. You're rocking it. It's awesome. Okay. So you're at 13 something. What game do you want to play in September? Do you want to play 15? Do you want to play Fibic? Do you want to play 2 new coaches? What game do you want to play this month, Eric?
Oh, definitely Fibic. I've been focusing on coaches more, and had a good month with that. It's just more of a general, like, it's very interesting to kind of see. Like, it's, I don't know, maybe it's a period of time. It's a week. It's like, I haven't done a health assessment in 3 days, or I haven't, it's not that I stopped doing the conversations or stopped taking the action, but if I don't see the results, it tends to start nagging at me.
Okay. Likely you didn't stop having conversations. You just didn't have the conversations that lead to health assessments.
Right.
But if you're playing a game, you get to look at that curiously. You don't get to look at that like the world is ending. Right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're playing Super Mario Brothers and you land on one of them stupid flowers that came out of the pipe you weren't expecting, do you just give up and throw your Nintendo in the garbage?
I go like left, right, up, down, A, B, come back to life.
Do some Contra stuff there? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because you're playing a game, right? You can still get a little emotional about it. Remember, we want to play this monthly game that you're in right now the same way we would want someone to play any game. We don't want to take it too seriously. No one likes playing a game with people too seriously. That's why I don't play Settlers of Catan anymore. You just can't find people that love that game that don't take it too seriously. It's so annoying. Oh my gosh. But you also don't want someone that's totally apathetic either. You want to find that balance where you're fun and you really want to win, but you also know it's a game. Think you might feel a little bit differently if you didn't have health assessments for 3 days and you go, all right, we're on the health assessment game this week. I'm going to do everything I can to try and get this many health assessments before the end of the week. It's going to be cool. And if you don't, well, guess what? You probably did a whole bunch of things that are going to create a bunch of lag measures anyway. So rock on. This is a game. Your mind is playing games on you. Why not play games back? It's a level playing field at that point. Can you feel the energy around that, Eric?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that allows you to feel what you're feeling without attaching a story to it. Because not having a health assessment when you're on a roll is disappointing, right? Well, it's okay to feel disappointed. It's not okay to feel disappointed and attach a story that you suck and you're not a good health coach and you must be sabotaging your business and you're a flash in the pan and it was a fluke and I'm going to be a greeter at Walmart by October. Right? So you feel disappointed. That's fine. We don't want to suppress our feelings. What we want to make sure we do is don't allow feelings to attract the stories, because then it's not a fair fight. Feel disappointed. Feel sad. I missed the ILAT trip this month. Feel it. But watch and pay attention to the stories that now want to come creeping in about who you are and what your worth is and how embarrassed you're going to be and whatever. Like, that's crap. You get to feel what you feel. You don't get to let the stories dictate the feelings, though. That's a dangerous game. Can we all commit to that? Becoming just a little bit more aware of when the succubus of that story wants to just latch on to what we're feeling and doesn't give us permission to feel it. And so we justify it and, well, I didn't care about the trip anyway. Or, oh, I'm such a loser. My life is over. I'm not going on the trip. Like we want to avoid those extremes. We want to feel it, but not buy into the narrative, into the story. One of the greatest ways to detach stories from feelings is gratitude. Like you'll solve a lot of these problems if you wake up every morning and write down 10 things you're grateful for. And then one thing you want to get done that day. The one thing, by the way, not the 15 things that you're trying to do and only getting 3 of them finished and kicking the crap out of yourself for the other 12. If you can't tell, I've worked with a few thousand health coaches. I kind of know what you guys are going through. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
You are so welcome. I think we got time for one more.
Hi, Paul.
I got Jose's hand and then David's voice. So who wants to go first? Jose is claiming it. He's like, I did the hand thing. I'm on video like Paul asked. So David, you're going to be our grand finale. Jose, go ahead.
Hey, Paul, how's it going, man? Good to see you.
I'm doing awesome. Thanks for asking.
I get emotionally attached to my cancellations and my people. I had like this past month was a bad month for me. I had like 5 or 6 of them people just canceled. They just said, this wasn't for me. This is not for me. This is not. And I was like, man, just kind of almost what Eric's feeling, but a little bit deep. Like, oh man, how do I? Regardless of we want to get back into this thing. I was like, just keep going, keep doing the work. But I was like, man, I don't know. I don't want to be emotionally attached to these people's outcomes, but like, why is it that I want it more than they do? You know what I'm saying?
That's a profound question. Because it's something you want to understand on a deeper level. Okay. We want to be strong enough to be sensitive and secure enough to be vulnerable. And a lot of what the world has conditioned us to believe is that you're either strong or sensitive, or you're either secure or vulnerable. But in fact, it's real strength that creates sensitivity. So that tells me you're a pretty strong dude, Jose. And it's security that creates vulnerability. But it's when we let it tail off into those stories that I was talking about. Mm-hmm. And we miss the opportunity to, in these moments, I want you to write down what's the fact and what's the feeling. I feel like this, but what's the fact? I feel like I let them down. I feel like there's something I could have said, but what's the fact? It's just not the right time for them. Then the other perspective shift, because that's what creates patience, that's what creates attitude, that's what creates success, is perspective. One of my favorite authors, Marianne Williamson, who gave the greatest quote in the history of mankind, our deepest fear, you heard it? Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. She also said that the greatest miracle in your life is a change of perspective. So here's a perspective shift for you, Jose. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How many cancellations do you think an integrated presidential director gets a month?
No. Sure.
In their organization? Tons.
Quite a bit, yeah.
And how do you think they feel about those?
They have to push forward and continue doing it, yeah.
So I want you to step back and go, wow, I just had a global director's level of number of cancellations last month. I'm rocking it. I got that part taken care of as a global. I'm going to learn how to handle 5 cancellations in a month because that's what I'm going to be able to do when I'm at a global director level. I'm going to be able to separate fact and feeling. I'm going to be able to be emotionally involved without being emotionally desperate. I have people come to me all the time, Jose, and say, I wish I didn't care about what people thought so much. It would be so much easier. Well, easier in what way? Well, can you teach me how to not care about what people think so much? Yeah, but we'd have to shut down your whole caring grid, and that would not be a good idea. That'd be like shutting down the grid at the Ghostbusters place. It's all hell's going to break loose. Freaking Peck. Ugh. If you can't tell, half my brain works in movie quotes and the other half in analogies, okay?
I'm the same way. I love
Following me? All right, you know what's up. All right.
I follow every single movie line you come out with. It's funny.
Okay, awesome. So we don't want to shut down that grid. What we want to do is calibrate it. We want to start understanding the fact and the feeling. What's the difference between caring about what someone thinks, being emotionally invested, being emotionally desperate over here, and the feeling, okay? We want to be able to process those separately. We want to be able to understand the difference between those two. We understand the difference between caring about what someone thinks and worrying about what someone thinks. Caring's beautiful. Worrying actually comes from the German root word Vergen. which means to strangle. So we don't want to strangle ourselves with our emotional investment with someone else. We just want to care. If you really cared about them, can you care enough to let them do their thing?
Yeah.
Perfect. So if you're actually emotionally invested, it's the great paradox. You don't really own something unless you can give it away. The highest level of control is surrendering all control. So you're headed there. It's just had a couple of things out of context.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
How cool is it you got 5 not readies out of the way in 1 month? That makes way for a whole bunch more people to get your energy that are ready.
Right.
Rather than letting the story creep in of some kind of inadequacy, because that's not fair to you.
Absolutely.
And Jose, remember this for me. The person who doesn't need someone to fundamentally change is in the strongest position to help them do just that. Okay?
Got it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Great question. All right, David, you're up.
Yeah, hi, Paul. Thanks for taking my call. Just started here with my wife, Leah.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. Doing well, especially with my wife's, and how she's doing everything. She's sharing and really like what you just said, caring. And I would just want to piggyback on Jose as well with the rejection part, with keeping the fire with some of us that's been in other businesses before, whether it's MLM or products of some sort, and gave up. And I just feel that we have something here, because my testimony is like losing 31 pounds in 30 days. And I keep going back to that. Like, how did that happen? And it basically started with a friend at church. She shared it with our coach, Andrea. And it's how she approached us. And I keep going back to that day when she came over, and not knowing that she was here for the first day or 8 months in the business, but she just had a very calm and professionalism about her. And she just shared something that really what we needed at that time. And we were seeking losing weight and getting healthier. And now we're on the other spectrum, where we are feeling a bit of rejection here and there.
Okay.
Although we've been doing well.
2 things, and I don't mean to cut you off. We got a short amount of time. You gave me a lot to work with there, David. Okay.
Sorry. Okay.
Actually, I take that back. I do totally mean to cut you off. I just don't mean to hurt your feelings if it does. Okay. All right.
No pun intended.
Perfect. Love it. And AJ, I love how you guys are like rabbits. Every time you come back on video, there's more people there in the screen. It's pretty impressive. So, all right. I got a little distracted by that. Thanks for smiling. Okay, David, 2 things. 1, every human being has a wall of resistance. This is not a philosophical thing. It actually exists. It's not physical. It's actually an emotional wall of resistance to protect us from the outside world that is not safe. We learned it as kids. We learned it over repeated experiences throughout growing up. Every human being has a wall of resistance. When we start realizing this, it's like being Neo. It's like Morpheus showed up and showed us the Matrix. Like, oh, really? I wasn't rejected by that person? No, they just didn't want to bring down their wall. They weren't ready to bring down their wall. Well, how come it hurt so bad? Well, because you walked up and threw up on the wall and it splashed back and tasted horrible. You banged your head against the wall. That wasn't them. That was their wall. It is one of the most empowering facts of life when you can walk around seeing people's walls and grow your heart and your passion into wanting to see if they're willing to bring it down, rather than trying to sell them something, rather than try and power through it or tunnel under it or sneak around the back door. Okay? Everybody's got a wall of resistance. We can start to see the wall and honor the wall. We can create a safe place and invite them to bring theirs down. That's one of the primary things that we teach people in what we do in the Habit Finder. We want to teach you how to bring people's walls of resistance down, because there is at least 40% of their cooperation, productive energy hiding behind that wall. That's the first thing, David. I want you and your wife, Leah, to walk around and start to see people's walls and realize you don't get rejected. You invite people to bring down walls, and if they don't want to, it goes to the same analogy that I shared with Eric and knocking on the door for Halloween. You just go to the next door. Suddenly it's not, oh, they're a jerk, they're an a-hole. Like, no, it's they didn't feel safe enough to bring their wall down. That's no reflection on me. That tells me something about them and increases my love for them. They need their wall. That's okay. Let's go find the next person who's ready to bring it down. The second, David, okay, and I hope I don't offend anyone with this. Be really careful to not, because you have a little bit of the energy of what I call a born-again Optavian. Okay, where you lost 31 pounds in 30 days and now you want everyone else to, but your journey started way before you joined Optavia. From the time you started gaining weight or from the times you were bullied or whatever, everybody's got their own journey. And let's say you've been on a journey for years and a born-again Optavian took them 12 years to get where they are, and now they want everybody else to get there in 24 hours. They just want to blah their energy on other people, and they start talking in language that's confusing. How many of you actually use the term optimal health in your life before you joined Optavia? Tell me.
Never.
How many of you even used the word health very often in your language before Optavia? No. You don't want to get optimally healthy. You wanted to look awesome in that dress or fit in those freaking jeans. You wanted to diet. So don't lose touch with the language that other people are still speaking, David. Still speak their speak. Still meet them where they are. And the same advice I gave to Jose, don't need them to fundamentally change. Because just like going back to Tim, where we don't like other people making decisions for us. We don't like people telling us we need to change. We want to meet them where they are, create a safe place, and invite them to bring their walls down. And then cooperation and productivity can come pouring out. As soon as we meet walls with expectations of people, which are concrete conditions for happiness, meaning if they're not met, the only option is not being happy, we're going to be on a volatile roller coaster ride in this business, and it will be exhausting. We're always going to be on a little bit of a roller coaster ride. It's life. Welcome to Earth. Okay? Does that help, David?
Well put, and hopefully my wife's still listening, so we are both going to keep going.
Sweet. That's all you got to do.
Thank you.
There's only two things that determine your success in Optavia. Just two. Everything else is a subset. The amount of time you've been in the business and the number of conversations that you have. Congratulations, you woke up breathing this morning. You took care of the first one. Number two is just see if you can have one more conversation today than you would have otherwise. Even if it's the worst conversation in the world. A nutritionist told me years ago, and I know this isn't popular talk in Optavia, but we'll keep it here, that a cheat meal is better than no meal at all. Because a cheat meal might spike your blood sugar, no meal will tank your metabolism. So an okay or even a bleh conversation is better than no conversation. So let's get out there and have more conversations. Well, I don't know what to say. It's amazing to me how many of you don't know what to say that say way too much. Okay? Let's give ourselves permission to find pace, hold space for people, and take this one little step at a time. The way you're feeling, if you're stuck, if you're trapped, that's totally okay. But just understand the only difference between feeling planted so you can grow and feeling buried is your perspective. They're both in dark, deep places, okay? But one of them is choosing to grow. The other one is choosing to feel buried. But you're here because you chose to get planted. You wanted to grow. Be careful to not psych yourself out into believing you've been buried. And remember, what's the one thing that helps plants grow in a more hardy, more fruitful way than anything else? Crap. Fertilizer. You gotta get buried in crap if you want to grow. So for those of you who just went, oh, that explains it, and you can exhale now, you're welcome. Keep moving one foot in front of the other. Thank you so much for your time tonight. I've got a jet. Michelle, Josh, I appreciate your trust in me to work with you individually and obviously for access to your group. Thank you so much for allowing us to be here, and hope we can keep collaborating and find better and better ways to serve all of you. The way they want to pour into all of you, I hope you know. The money they've invested, the time they've invested with me alone to be able to better serve you is astounding. I am so honored to be a part of that journey, but I hope you know how valuable you are as priceless human beings to Josh and Michelle. They're very aware of the things they need to work on. They're very aware of the ways they fall short as human beings. It's what makes them amazing leaders. But one place they don't fall short on is the love and dedication they've got for all of you. You are a part of their journey. You are the reason that they push that much further and want to see success. They're not looking to getting to the top as a lonely place. They want to make it a party, if you haven't noticed, and a bitchin' party at that. And I'm excited to be a part of it, and thank you. It's awesome. Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you so much, Paul. That was absolutely incredible, you guys. Was that not awesome? And I love, like, you know, how really in-depth we got when it came to, and he just left, but that was awesome. I know, like, how in-depth you got to really working together as a team. And what I mean by that too is, like, really even engaging on these calls. It's one thing that we meet with him every other week. And one thing that I would really love to change in the dynamic of our group is to really be engaging on these calls. So, you know, even a few of us were even thinking, in this group, I thought it'd be really fun to, you know, kind of change things up when it comes to these calls. You know, sometimes we go all action driven, and that kind of gets a little bit overwhelming, right? And I understand that we have boot camps, we've got all these amazing trainings, but one thing that I really want to change, or we as a group, I know really want to change, is obviously focusing on everything that Paul just said, really changing the way that we think, and it really starts with us. So, you know, this is kind of something I want to get everyone's permission on. If this is something that you want to do when it comes to working on our mindset, is we're going to kind of take it a little bit of a different direction on Wednesday night calls. And rather than going through actions and things like that, we're going to start really shifting to start changing the way that we think by personal development, by working on us, because, you know, that's a big aspect of what we do. You know, we obviously cannot lead other people if we don't lead ourselves first. So one thing, I don't know if you guys know of this book that I actually, you know, as Paul was talking, and I think this is something that we've been working on with this book, is, and it's from Og Mandino, and it's called The Greatest Salesman in the World. And so we actually were thinking of another book to start with, but I think this would be an amazing book to start. And if everyone wants to get this book, you can find it on Amazon, but it's called The Greatest Salesman in the World from Og Mandino. I think it'd be awesome for all of us to get this and to really start working on ourselves. But also, I think it'd be great too, is to every single week, there we go. But even every single week, I think it would be great for us to even read a chapter. You know, start with a chapter and meet every single Wednesday and share takeaways. You know, this is something that we're actually doing in our Fibic and Above group, with Olive Jamil's team. Is we're actually reading a book, and every single week, or every time that we meet, which is about once a month, we go over takeaways and we go over what we've learned. But I think that's also in a shape of helping us with our own personal development, because like I said, you cannot lead others unless you lead yourself. So I think this will be a great way. So this is something that you want to be a part of. You know, this is something that you have to do, but if you want to make the decision to grow within yourself to help others, I think it'd be an amazing thing for all of us to meet every single Wednesday night, and just share for our 30 minutes of our team call, really just share kind of make it more engaging. You know, I don't want it to be all about us or, you know, the Josh and Michelle show, but we want everyone to have that platform to really speak and to be part of that platform, to really lead yourself too. So I really hope that, you know, you make the decision. I think tonight was incredible. If you want to rewatch it, we're going to repost the replay. But I know he's not on, but I'm so appreciative of Paul. He's definitely changed a lot in the last few months that we've been working with him in the way that we think. But I really hope for yourselves that, you know, you really take this call and, you know, really start applying it within yourself, because people are going to come. It's the way that we view, you know, our entire business. Sometimes we have all that negative chatter. So by working on ourselves, I think this would be really good. So kind of show you again, the greatest salesman in the world. I think it'd be a great start. And then, you know, we kind of shift. We'll shift after this book to maybe another book, almost like a book club, I guess you can call. But I think it'll be great really for all of us to be invested in this and, you know, take the time to, you know, work on ourselves. So thank you again, you guys, for being on. I appreciate all of you. You know, if your team wasn't on, we'll definitely send the replay. And I guess, Josh, did you want to say something? Did you come off mute? Or was that on accident?
I did for a second, and I was going to say it's not necessarily a book club, but that we all get to grow together, right? Because your business will never outgrow you. So if you're not developing personally, I mean, for most people, you're going to be stuck at executive director until you grow personally to regional or national or global. So, yeah, I know Michelle says book club and she laughs. But no, I mean, it'll be a book club, but it's going to be the best darn book club that you ever kind of been a part of, where it's actually going to develop you as a leader. And we all sit and say, why can't my clients do what I ask them to? Why can't my coaches do what I ask them to? Why can't, well, this is going to help us develop ourselves so that we're able to help inspire more people to be the people that we know they want to be. So that's my part. As I'm at soccer practice, so there we go. Michelle, close it out.
Awesome, guys. Well, thanks again for being on. I hope you guys have a good rest of your night, and hopefully you make the decision within yourself, to be part of every Wednesday night, because this is for you, to grow you, to help you in all areas of your life. So you guys have a great rest of your night, and we will see you next time.